All right, welcome to atdrafting.com. Another video, and I want to thank our new customer for this little project. And it is a shop, as you can see here. He had someone draw this up, but unfortunately, or not unfortunately, a lot of times people that do drafting work are not, they don't do they don't get into that much detail, and it's really just a decent picture, of what you want. And honestly, a contractor, I'm a general contractor too. I can build this shop from this, but this owner wants to be able to build this himself, and so I'm going to show him how through these videos and the model that I'm going to build for him. I almost forgot to turn on the camera. I had started laying out these layout lines here, and I know that the building is 27 feet. You can't see that because importing PDFs into SketchUp is kind of strange. You have to convert them to like a JPEG, like a raster image, and then import them, and they lose some of their detail. They get grainy, so I've got the PDF pulled up here, and I know that the overall dimensions are 16'8" by 27 feet. And so what we're going to do is go back. I've already got 27 feet laid out here. I'm sorry, that's the 16'8", and I'm going to go back 27 feet, and that goes back there. And so what I'm going to do now is get my rectangle tool, and just to get kind of started. And is that the back? Yeah, I want that to be the face right there. Now, he's got a pretty flat area. He's building this next to a newer looking home, it looks like, from the photograph that he sent me. And so the area's been graded relatively flat. And I noted in another page of his drawings, they had a foundation detail, and this home was being built in Texas. And I knew right away when I saw it that it had to be Texas or someplace like that, because they're doing these raft, these raft footings, or these internal footings that deal with the types of soils that you have out in Texas. And I just know that from experience, because I do a lot of work for people all over the country, and I'm starting to get kind of used to the different foundation details. But in any event, his details call for it to be 24 inches. So I'm just going to make it 24 inches. I know we have a 4-inch brick ledge, and that brick ledge goes down 1.5 inches. 1.5. One of the things we're going to look at closely is where this brick ledge actually stops, because it's kind of important, especially if you're trying to do this yourself and you don't have a contractor helping you. And I'm going to show you why in just a bit, and we'll adjust this when we get to that point. So for now, I'm just going to show it going down 1.5 right there, and then later on, when we get to that point where we're doing framing and siding and trim, we'll see that this brick ledge has more to do with where the brick stops beside the door trim and all that than you might think. So that'll be something for later to remember, and that will come up when we're starting to show the brick. But just know that, let me delete this line. Just know that it's going to be important that this brick ledge stop, you don't really want to have to notch out, like if, say, the brick came over another few inches. It would be okay if the brick stopped back at a couple of inches, but going over into this ledge a couple of inches, that means you would actually see that notch. So we need to pay attention to where this notch stops. We can't just pop a line, we can't just put a 12-foot door in there and just forget about it. So enough on that for right now. So I'm going to see if do I have ground here? No, I don't have my ground. What's funny is a lot of times I'll draw a grade, and I'm going to go ahead and do that just to, well, I'll do it in a minute. But first I'm going to create a group out of my foundation. And then I'm going to go under here, underneath, and kind of give you an idea of what these footings look like. We have a nice pretty blue sky to work with here. So I'm going to double click on my foundation, and the drawings that he has calls for only 12 inches, and I'm gonna draw it that way. But I'll probably make them 16. I guess since it's just a shop, then I'm gonna leave it that way. But I would think about that. So I'm gonna come down to the middle and see he had this 16. Oops, that would be 8, wouldn't it? Let me get this more upside down, yeah, that's where I can see better. So in these types of soils, these expansive soils, you see what I did? I'm such a habit of making that 16. I'm gonna offset it 8 inches. I wonder why it looks so strange. 6 and 6. Now it's 12. So we can just connect these and then cut this out. And then we're going to pop these up 20 inches. Oops. 20. And that's kind of what it would look like from below, except that when you're digging these trenches, typically we would show on a drawing, you would see these with the bank, the edges of the dirt kind of peeled back a little bit. But again, I'm going to just leave it kind of like that until I talk to him and see how much detail he needs. Because when you dig a trench, you don't really dig them with all those squared edges, and we try to show them kind of splayed out a little bit at the top. Anyway, moving on. And so now that I got my foundation kind of halfway drawn, I'm going to move this out of the way over here because I kind of already know what's going on. I'm going to move this over a little bit too. But I need to get it situated because once I kind of get it situated, I don't want to move it. And I want to move this back a little bit. I want to delete this girl. And I want to draw myself some grade. And I usually just draw a big old piece of ground here. And I'll reverse that. And then I'll make a group out of it. And lock it. And the reason I do that is so I can show this here. I need to move that down to where it's, let me get my axis locked. Let's see, 18 inches. There we go. Because you can see now I'm showing that footing below grade like that. But anyway, that's kind of our start here. And again, we'll talk more about the footing. What I would do is, if he needs me to, I'll go in and lay in the rebar and all that. But I kind of wanted to get started on the framing because I do like Medic's wall extension here, and I wanted to try it out because I didn't know if it had a good brick feature on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw myself a big rectangle as a reference. And then I'm going to offset it a 1/2 inch just to make sure that I can select a line. I don't have to, this way I won't have to fool with going in and offsetting his walls and all that. And that's going to be my framing line. Okay, but for now I'm going to leave it on because that's going to be my reference point for my wall framing, which I'm going to go back down, Medique wall. Now, I'm going to say something, and it's going to seem, it's not mean, but I'm using these extensions because I want to learn how. I spend a lot of time learning them, and literally sometimes I can hand draw everything in about the same amount of time or quicker. But I don't want to get so far behind on technology that I don't keep up with it. Does that make sense? If I totally ignore this stuff and just do my own thing, then I'm gonna end up, behind the curve. Behind the curve. Is that right? There we go. Behind the technology curve. Now I'm going to get rid of this siding because what we have is a brick ledge. So what I want to do is go down to wall cladding. We'll talk about the corners here in a second. Advanced options, cladding. Let's see if they've got a brick here. Have we got brick? Beige, red brick. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, I guess I could go to the wall that I changed. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now I need to give it its thickness. So let's go back up here. Wall cladding thickness would be 3.5, 3.5. And gap would be, let's give it a 1/2 inch. And see what that does. Okay, let's go look at it from the top view. Yeah, that's going to be correct. That's good. So that should be flush with our slab down here. Now we need a vertical offset. Let's do 1.5 and see if that fixes it. Update. There we go. That's the way it should look. It should be down on that. And you should have that 1/2 inch airspace in there. And so all I have to do is, let's see, what I should do is make all these the same walls. Let's see. Now if I change that one wall type, all four will change. So now we have just our basic walls. You can see we have our California corners in there, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I would rather have on a brick, when you've got a brick veneer, it's no big deal. But when I have wood siding, I like to use a standard corner. When I say standard, I mean like we used to do back in the old days. So let's change this one and see if that, because it may be that outside corner, three stud update. Yeah, you see, when you do a standard corner, and I have a video on this, and you can search it in my playlist, how to frame exterior corners. When you're putting siding, like wood siding or any kind of siding on the outside, where you need something solid to nail to on the end, because you've got a corner board or something and it pushes the siding, the end of the siding back, having a standard corner is really important. This is not so important on this brick veneer building because you don't obviously have siding, so it's not a big deal. But if I've got siding, I really like to have more to nail to than a California corner. A California corner only gives you 1.5 inches to nail to. And if you have a 3.5 inch corner board, it pushes the end of the siding back so far that there's nothing to nail to except the sheeting. And OSB will not hold a nail worth of crap. So you really need to be driving your nails into the studs. Let's see how the garage door is going to act with the brick. Let's go to wall, add garage door, and it's a 12 foot. What is the garage door height? What is it? It is 7 feet. Now here's where I'm going to disagree with the guy who drew this up. I stopped doing 7 foot tall doors in 1989. You know, I think it should be 8 feet. I'm going to draw it at 8 feet. I'm going to recommend you make it 8 feet. If you have a truck or anything, or even a car with a rack on it or anything, 8 feet, just, it looks better, the proportions look better, and it's more functional. Garage door header would be 2 LVLs. Now, one thing we want to do is make sure we get our advanced framing, and I'm going to show you that. It's going to be our shear wall framing. Advanced garage door options. Install door, yes. Exterior trim, yes. Interior casing, no, not for now. Portal frame, here we go. Yes, here we go. Now our portal framing is very important on a building like this. Oops. Sorry, I got a call from my siding guy. So our portal framing, here we go. Let's go ahead and put this in. Let's go ahead and show, and we're going to say okay. So let's just try to push through this and see if we can't get a door in here. We're going to try to find the location right there in the middle, and there we go. And it looks like my header, oh, I know what's going on here. This wall that I created must not be with 9 foot studs. So let's go in here and actually edit this wall assembly. There we go. Got them back up to, for some reason I had it at an 8 foot wall. And so that didn't allow me to have my 8 foot door. And so there we go. Now, what you'll notice on this portal framing is, let me close this. What you'll notice on this portal framing is that the header extends past the door opening. And so what that does is it allows you to, let's go out here and we'll turn off the brick. Okay. Go to our layers, and should be cladding right there. Okay. You can see what that does, and they don't show the joints in the OSB in this wall extension, but it allows the sheeting to overlap the header and the wall. In other words, if your header stopped where it normally would, there would only be 3 inches of that exterior sheeting lapped over that header. Okay, with this header extended and that sheeting coming all the way over to your roof opening, you're going to get all this overlap of the sheeting, and there's a nailing pattern. And I think it's every maybe 3 or 4 inches into this header, and what it does is it keeps the opening from racking. It keeps this end of the building from racking back and forth because you've got this rigid framing system and sheeting system. Okay, so let's move on, and I've got a few details I have to work out. I think what I'll probably end up doing is probably exploding these wall assemblies and customizing them, making sure the rough opening is correct and all that kind of stuff. I want to get this kind of preliminary stuff to him and see what he thinks. So I've got myself some layout lines here for some windows that I remember from his drawing, and I'm going to place them in a certain spot. And I think they're going to be, and then I'll just have to let him look at those and see what he thinks. I think they're going to be 3050s. Again, the door header situation on this, we can use two 2x10s for these. That should be fine. And built up header. We're not going to worry too much about the framing at this point, and everything else looks good. Advanced windows, yes. Install window, exterior trim. I think he's just got, no, I think what he's got is just the brick going up to the windows, which is fine. It's low maintenance. No to that. Shutters, no. Okay. And we got a casement window, I think. I think he's got some different style of windows. I'll have to look at those. Window location. Let's just see if we can't get these going. I'm gonna put them right here for now. And mainly what I'm trying to do is get locations down. The details on the actual window itself we can work out. Now, I don't like that header height. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Let's try to let's undo that for a second, and we'll go back and window. These typically on this you would have like an 8-foot header height. I've had that before. Yeah, look here, 80. That's a little short for this. I think it should be at least let's see, 84, 90 inches. But again, this is going to be a question. That header height, since you have these 9-foot walls, so it looks a little, I like it when it's up a little bit higher. I've even had these tall windows. If you've got like a 5-foot tall window, I've actually put them at 8 feet before, like up with the garage door. So I think it looks better. And we'll put, let's see, oh, we had 2 on the ends. So we'll go through here and put windows. I should have put it, okay, okay, okay. So one nice thing about this is that once I fix those parameters, it sticks for the next time I place them. And then we had a door over here. So let's go to our doors. Door. And 3 foot, 6'8", 2x10s, 2x10s. He's got a solid door drawn, excuse me, which makes sense. But that's something you can pick out. There we go. And looks like I've got it too far from the corner where I had another. Yeah, he had it closer to the corner. And I used to have a line over here. I think I had it, but anyway, that's a question. Like right now, it's basically lined up with that window across the way. It may be that he's got a sidewalk or something he's trying to catch, and it may be that's part of what it is. Now, I meant to ask him if he wanted, I'm assuming he wants trusses, but you could stick build this thing if you wanted to. And what advantage would you gain? I don't think it would be that much cheaper. It might be a little cheaper to use the trusses. Let's show trusses for now. Let's go to truss, roof truss, and we'll do standard truss. We'll go from here to here. To there. And so we want to go top chord, he had an 8/12 pitch, and overhang is probably, I think we need to make it 20 inches because of the brick. And same top chords is correct. Raised heel, let's see, okay. Gable entresses, that's my framing. Let's see, I don't need that. I don't need those because I've got brick. Gable, okay. Advanced roof options, yes. Okay. Let's just leave all this the same for now. And we will submit those. See what we come up with. Oh, I forgot to change the cladding, and we need to add soffits. And I need to check his drawing to see, he's just got shingles showing there, and a regular soffit, a leveled off soffit. Let's go back to this, and I'll cut away, I'll turn off some of this stuff here in a minute so that you can see. So we'll talk about this here in a second. Let's do yes here, and when I start turning off these layers, I will explain some of this stuff. Vertical, depth, material. Let's see, if we're using trusses, we can get by with a 5.5. 5. If you want a wider fascia, you can use it. You don't have to. If you're using rafters, you would use a 7.5 inch a 1x8, which is 7.25. If you're using trusses, you can get by with a 1x6, which is 5.5 inches. Soffit, yes. Soffit type box. Let's update this and see where we are. Still no brick in the gables. Let's see, let me go back here. Yeah, he's got brick going all the way up. I do actually like to break it up. I like to put siding in the gables. I think it just keeps it from looking too industrial, you know, what's the word? Not industrial, institutional. Yeah, it looks too institutional for me. If you put siding in the gable ends, it looks more residential, I think. But let's go back here and see, I kind of like that siding. But we will go back here and edit this and try to find our wall cladding material. I passed it right up somehow. There's so many options. You have to concentrate. Here we go. Wall cladding thickness. Wall cladding. Red brick. I don't get the spacing, so I'm going to have to make it 4, I think, and see what happens. Yeah. So we do get kind of a line across there where these two meet, but like I said, I can fix that if he decides to keep the brick. What I'll do is I'll explode everything, and I'll go and I'll actually take this wall surface and draw it so that it covers the entire face, and that'll take care of that. And it's funny, the gutters are going into the brick, so we have to fix that. Let's see if we can edit that. Again, a lot of this stuff is, you know, obviously taking me a little more time because, well, in some ways it's saving me time, in some ways it's not. Let's see if we can get a vertical offset. Vertical offset. We don't want that. Well, actually, we want at least an inch, I think. See if that lowers it some. Yeah, you want that gutter. In real life, the gutter's not going to be right up against the shingles like that. It'll be dropped down a little bit. The only thing I'm going to have to do, though, is alter the gutters to, I'm going to have to physically or manually alter them so that they don't go into the brick like that. So for now, I'm going to turn them off. Let's see, gutters, no. And I'll fix that later. And what looks nice too, especially if you're going to have brick, is just to go ahead and do like a gable vent to break up this area, because it's just a lot of brick, you know. And so I would suggest, if you're not going to do like a siding up here, I would do some kind of a vent, like a rectangular gable vent, to kind of break it up. But that's going to be a good looking shop. The other thing I need to do is kind of get the colors, you know, on the shingles and the brick and all that coordinated. Now let's do a section. Well, let's see. I'll tell you what we can do. Let's do it by layers. We'll go in here and we'll turn off the roof. What happened to my layers on my roof? Oh, the layers are turned off. Let's see if it'll generate them. I bet it won't. I bet I have to redo it. Dang it. Oh, it did. Thank you, Jesus. I was going to have to redraw. I was afraid I was going to have to redraw it. Okay, so now I've got my roof cladding. Where is it? Roof cladding. We'll turn that off. And we got our roof sheeting. And then this gives you an idea of the trusses. And what we'll do is, yeah, we need to go in here, and what we would have is a dropped truss on the end. This is one way to do it, is to have the truss company, if you're going to use trusses, which I would recommend, they make it a little bit easier, especially if you're doing it yourself. It sounds more difficult at first, but once you get the first two up, you get each end up. You stand up the ones on the end and you brace them off, and then you can pull a string, and then you just line up the tops of them all, make sure they're all lined up good at the top. Then it's easier, because you basically don't have to cut rafters. You know, you don't have to you don't have to figure out the rafter. Of course, I can help you with the rafter lengths. I mean, it's not that difficult. I'm just saying, if you had somebody to help you, it would be really easy to set these trusses. But what would happen here is, and I'm not going to fix this until I find out whether he wants to use trusses or not. This is just kind of a preliminary video to get some of these questions answered. So if you use trusses, what I do is I have the truss company, and maybe I think I can do this. I should be able to edit this so that I have a dropped, yes, okay, and then let's see if I just update that, if it fixes it. Yeah, there we go. Voila, good job, Madique. You see how this end truss is dropped? And what that does is it allows your outlookers to go out. They sit on top of that. They nail flush with the top of this truss, and then they sit on top of this one because this one's dropped. And this creates a really strong soffit. I mean, you can hang a truck off of these things. You know, they're going to be really strong. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is just, you know, rafters. And I can show you both ways. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the owner if he likes this version. The other thing you can do is you can have them, if you want storage up here, you can have an attic truss made so that you kind of get a little room built in. Because you've got, let's see how much room you've got if you were standing on this top Then you've got about 4'10" there. So it's not like you could stand up or anything, but you could put a, if you had an attic stair that you wanted to put in somewhere, and then you'd be able to pull it down and get up in there and store things if you wanted to. And of course, if you do rafters and ceiling joists, you could do the same thing. You could still have a pull down stair to get access to your attic space. I'm just saying a lot of people won't use trusses because of that. But if you go back and you look at, if I do this truss thing again, let's pick, here we go. But I'll kind of show you what it looks like. We'll just go with everything. There we go. So that kind of gives you an idea what an attic truss would look like. And not sure why. They're showing like this top chord would be, was that 2x6, 2x8? Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Nathan really knows his stuff on his trusses, so if he's showing it like that, that's probably the way it would be. Because I've had trusses designed by my truss company before, and I'll compare them to what he comes up with on the design of the webbing. The way these cords work out, and they're always spot on. I know it was long, but this will just be like an introductory video. And I'm going to turn off the brick for right now because it's annoying me, because it wouldn't be, what you would do is you would put your soffits up first and your brick would just be laid up to the soffit. It wouldn't go all the way up to the top of the wall like that. You would do all your roof trim, your soffits and fascia, and then the bricklayers come and lay up to it, and then you'd have a freeze board up here which covers up the gap on there. And again, I use these extensions just to kind of keep up with the technology, but then I can explode this and go back in and make the corrections I need to. It's the same right here. The brick wall wouldn't come up to there. It would stop. It would stop at the soffit because all the soffits would be done first. But that's why I made the soffits like 20 inches instead of 16, so I could add that thickness to it. So these videos are kind of meant for the owners, but I appreciate everybody watching. If you need some help with your project like this, you can go to atdrafting.com and contact me there. You can contact me at tony@atdrafting.com. And I can help you with your project too. These are obviously paid projects. This is a customer of ours, and we really appreciate them because they help us pay for our big Ford trucks that we have and that we need for our projects and other tools and things. So this helps us out, and hopefully it helps them out. And if you need help, just let me know. And I will be getting back to this project as soon as I have some more information from the owner. Thanks a bunch.